They say the loudest person wins the argument. That lie keeps people trapped in other people's frames, wasting energy on explanations that only tighten the trap. The truth is quieter. The person who controls pace, framing, and terms controls the outcome, often without saying much at all. Chapter 1. Opening hook and stakes. Today, you'll learn a banned conversational sequence that flips the power dynamic in real time. It isn't magic, it's a disciplined way to take ownership of the order in which things get discussed. When you own the order, you own the outcome. Used ethically, this method protects you from manipulation, de-escalates chaos, and exposes bad faith without name-calling. By the end, you'll hear arguments differently, not as fights to win, but as systems to steer. Before we dive deeper, here's how to use this. You're about to hear a complete framework for staying calm, clear, and in control during tense conversations. You don't need special talent, you need order. We'll move from the core sequence to real-world traps, then into voice, posture, boundaries, and clean exits. Use this ethically, for clarity, consent, and problem-solving, not to humiliate or win. If a moment feels heated, pause the video, breathe, and return when you can think clearly. If you want a companion piece, cue up Silent Power next. It pairs perfectly with this method. Now let's get into the mechanics so your arguments start following your structure, not your stress. Before we move further, tap like and subscribe to Darkmind 999, Darkmind 999 for weekly deep dives on dark psychology, stoic control, and real-world communication power. Your support tells the algorithm to keep pushing these tools to people who need them. Let's dive in. Chapter 2. Why talking faster loses power. Most arguments aren't about truth, they're about tempo. One person sets a frantic pace, the other tries to keep up, and somewhere in the sprint the premise sneaks in. You start defending things you never agreed to discuss. The more you speak, the more you accept their timing, their vocabulary, their hidden assumptions. That's why people walk away from arguments saying, "I don't even know what we were fighting about." They were busy answering the question and never checked if the question was valid. Power in conversation is not about volume, it's about sequence. The winner isn't the loudest voice, it's the first person to put the discussion on rails. Rails mean we decide what counts, in what order, and by what standard. Chapter 3, the core hack, Mirror, Delay, Reframe, MDR. The sequence is 3 moves: mirror, delay, reframe. Mirror, reflect the essence of what was said. Short, neutral, exact. The mirror proves you heard the content and starves the drama. It prevents the other person from escalating with, "You're not listening," because you already showed that you are. Delay. Create a small, intentional pause. Not a sulk, not a power game, just space. Space lets your nervous system downshift and stops you from answering the wrong question. Reframe. Choose the lens and the order. Facts before labels. Terms before stories. Time and place before blame. A good reframe converts emotion into something measurable. Definitions, boundaries, timelines, options. The power isn't in any single move. It's in the sequence. Mirror calms, delay clears, reframe directs. You don't fight the fire, you change the room's oxygen. Chapter 4. Spotting the baits that hijack you. Arguments spiral because bait is disguised as honesty. Guilt frames sound like care. Loaded premises sound like certainty. Here are the main hooks, guilt frames. After all I've done for you. The hidden rule is that debt erases your right to negotiate. Why questions? Why are you like this? They force autobiography and keep solutions out of reach. Double binds. If you cared, you'd do X. If you don't, you're selfish. No matter what you choose, you're wrong. Loaded premises. Since you lied, a verdict is smuggled into the opening line. Artificial urgency. Answer right now or it's over. Countdown clocks make people stupid. When you can name the bait, you can stop swallowing it. MDR doesn't swing at the hook. It steps out of the line of fire and moves the conversation to structure. Chapter 5. Mirroring without sarcasm. A mirror is not mimicry. It's not mockery. It is the shortest, cleanest reflection of the claim you just heard. The tone is everything. Neutral voice, plain words, no edge. A good mirror shrinks a shouting match to a manageable size because it separates the claim from the charge. If someone says, "You never support me," a mirror sounds like, "You feel unsupported." Not, "So I'm a monster." Not, "Here we go again." Not, "That's ridiculous." A mirror gives the other person the dignity of being heard without granting their interpretation the status of fact. The best mirrors are so simple, they feel almost too small, exactly the point. You are telling the nervous system, "We are safe enough to name it." Safety is not agreement, it's oxygen for clarity. Chapter 6. The strategic pause. Owning the tempo. Delay is not avoidance, it's leadership. A breath is time for your prefrontal cortex to return to the conversation. That pause also tests the other person's intent. People committed to clarity can tolerate a beat of silence. People committed to control cannot. They will fill the gap with more bait, more speed, more pressure, revealing their goal. The pause rebalances power because it says, "We will speak at a human pace." If a countdown appears, remember this. If the topic truly matters, it deserves clarity. Nothing that can survive only at high speed can survive the truth. Your steadiness is not rudeness. It is consent to a sane process. Chapter 7. Reframing to terms, not stories. Reframing is the doorway out of fog. You turn labels into behaviors, feelings into definitions, and stories into terms. If someone says, "You're disrespectful," the reframe turns disrespect into observable actions, interruptions, volume, name-calling, broken agreements. If someone says, "You're selfish," the reframe asks for criteria. What would generosity look like in this context? Time, money, attention, or flexibility? When you move language from identity to terms, you make progress possible. Stories carry momentum and blame. Terms carry measurements and choices. A clean reframe is not a word trick, it's a filter that keeps only what you can actually act on. Chapter 8. Scope, evidence, and the order of operations. Arguments fail because they try to solve everything at once. Scope is your shield. Narrow the slice until it's solvable. Handle tonight before history. Handle this project before the entire career. Handle a single behavior before the whole personality. Evidence matters, but only after scope. Without scope, evidence becomes cherry-picking. With scope, evidence becomes illumination. Decide the order like a checklist: scope, definition, evidence, options, timelines. Most fights never reach options because they drown in biography. The moment you insist on order, the storm quiets. Order is not bureaucracy. It is mercy for two human brains under stress. Chapter 9. Real-world confrontations. Relationships, work, friends. In relationships, the battlefield is often meaning. One partner speaks logistics, the other hears love or neglect. MDR makes the translation. Mirror the feeling so the person calms. Delay so you don't defend a caricature. Reframe to behaviors you can promise or decline. At work, accusations often hide competition and fear. A colleague implies you undermined a project. Mirror the claim without venom. Pause so you don't confess to a feeling. Reframe to definitions and timeline. People who want the truth will welcome the map. People who want a scapegoat will resist the map. The map shows you who is in the room. Among friends, the weapon is usually everyone says. Crowd pressure pretends to be wisdom. Mirror the rumor without attacking. Hold a quiet second. Reframe to specifics. Dates, phrases, scenes. Vague charges evaporate under light. Real wounds step forward and can be named. Chapter 10. Voice, posture, and the physics of calm. Arguments are physical. Shoulders rise, breath shortens, faces tighten, voices climb. You can't think clearly with a clenched jaw. Calm is not an attitude, it is a posture. Lower your shoulders, place both feet on the ground, and let the breath drop into the belly. Speak a little slower than you want to. Land sentences with a soft, downward finish. When you control your body, you control the acoustics of the room. Calm is contagious, but so is panic. Your physiology becomes a thermostat the moment you refuse the spike. You don't need to look powerful. You need to be legible. Legibility is power because people can engage without guessing your state. Chapter 11. Boundaries that don't collapse. A boundary is not a wall. It is information about how the conversation will proceed with you in it. Real boundaries are short and behavioral. I won't continue if voices rise. I'll discuss outcomes. I won't debate identity. I'll talk when we can schedule time. I won't comply with mid-conversation deadlines. Boundaries fail when they are threats, when they beg for a reaction or seek punishment. Boundaries hold when they describe your next move calmly, and then you do it. The moment your actions match your lines, the argument changes temperature. Not because you won, but because the game lost the chaotic rulebook it relied on. Chapter 12. Double binds, loaded premises, and how to walk out clean. Double binds promise you only wrong doors. Loaded premises pretend the verdict is old news. You don't smash these traps, you light them up. Name the bind neutrally and add a third path. Name the premise and ask for how we would test it. If the room refuses testing, you have your answer. The goal was never truth. Walking out clean doesn't mean vanishing, it means exiting with your values intact. You can say, I'm available for evidence and solutions. I'm not available for verdicts without a process. People who value you will meet you there. People who don't will accuse you of being difficult. Wear that with peace. Dignity is often misread by people who benefit from your confusion. Chapter 13. When silence heals and when it hurts. Silence is a tool, not a weapon. Used well, it lets adrenaline drain and gives meaning time to assemble. Used poorly, it punishes and breeds insecurity. The difference is intent. A healing silence is paired with openness. Your posture is relaxed, your face available, your words ready to continue. A hurting silence is closed, arms folded, eyes averted, the room frozen. One says, I'm here and steady. The other says, I'm gone until you plead. If your silence is making the other person guess whether you care, it's not power, it's abandonment. Untouchable doesn't mean unreachable. It means you cannot be dragged where clarity cannot live. Chapter 14. Ethics, strength without humiliation. Tools that bend conversation can also break people. The line is simple. Use MDR to clarify, protect, and solve, not to humiliate, corner, or perform superiority. If you're chasing the feeling of triumph, you're losing something more important than being right. The goal of structure is not dominance, it is dignity, for you and for them. If someone is overwhelmed, the right move is not to demonstrate your mastery of reframes. It's to pause the process and return when both minds can think. Consent is not paperwork. It's recognizable in the way the other person's shoulders drop and their sentences lengthen. If your power shrinks the other person's humanity, it isn't power. It's panic wearing armor. Chapter 15. Putting it all together. Now listen to what an untouchable interaction sounds like. The other person arrives hot, certain, pressed for time. You don't counterpunch. You mirror the claim in plain language so the charge has somewhere to land. You let a breath pass, your shoulders stay low, the room stops vibrating. You reframe to terms that can actually be worked, definitions, scope, evidence, options, timelines. If bait appears, you name the category in your mind and refuse the hook. If a boundary is needed, you state it cleanly and follow it with action. If a double bind shows up, you offer a third door. If a loaded premise tries to crown itself, you invite the test. By the end, either you have a map to a shared solution or you have a clear reason to disengage. Both are victories. Untouchable doesn't mean you never feel. It means your feelings are not a steering wheel in someone else's hands. The banned hack is not a trick, it's a discipline. Mirror the content. Delay to regain tempo. Reframe to solvable terms. When you own the order, you own the outcome. Use it to make fewer enemies, kinder truths, and endings that don't poison your future. Call to action. If this helped you take back control in tough conversations, tap like and subscribe to Dark Mind 999 for weekly deep dives on dark psychology, stoic control, and real-world communication power. Your support tells the algorithm to keep pushing these tools to people who need them. I appreciate you being here. Stay steady, stay clear, and I'll see you in the next one.